are we seeing at the beginning of the implosion of brand Sussex? Hello everyone. Welcome to Romney's Network. We were talking about a couple of stories because there are certain things floating around out there that I find rather fascinating. All goes and points to the fact that Harry and Meghan, their brand, the Sussex brand, is collapsing. It's falling apart basically on Harry and Meghan because of Harry and Meghan. Yes, oh yes, we're going to talk about their reaction to Southpark, what their lawyer said specifically in regards being sued. I know this is being misconstrued into the fact that they're talking about Southpark. It's really about the rumor that they were going to sue. But I think it still is not about them. We're also going to talk about how more and more outlets is served with the daily meal. But now Fox News is picked up, and I think more will as well, talking about how Meghan constantly changes her narrative when it suits her. She says 1 minute her dad is fantastic and then all of a sudden horrible person, heap and parade her by doing the same thing she used to do by calling the paparazzi. And so more and more outlets I think are really digging into this fact that Meghan, to suit what she wants at the moment, to suit the narrative of the story she wants to tell, is changing up her narrative, and how because of the internet, her own writings and everything, it's really starting to bite her in the butt. Finally, we'll go over some of the details on that. In addition, the latest popularity polls out, and Harry and Meghan, they are some of the least liked members of the royal family. They're being beaten by Camilla, guys. And so we're going to go over a little bit of those details, and this is an American poll, by the way, and what this means for Harry and Meghan, because this brand they were trying to. They well made one critical error when they started this project. And because of that, I don't know if they can ever salvage it. I really don't, because at this point they need to do something now and instead of letting things fester, because all we've seen from them is the same thing after the same thing. Even though they promise us they are going to be the saviors of humanity, that they're gonna do all this great philanthropic work, they're still Harry and Meghan. So guys, we are going to go over this today and also let you know what's in the video. What do I think about the rumors that Meghan might be pregnant? My thoughts may surprise you, but if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news and sometimes a little bit of gossip as well. I'm a historian. I'm actually going back to school to finish out my degree and get my PhD. So I have a lot going on at the moment, but I love royals. I love the history of royalty, fashion, jewelry, TRS, everything, and so I do all royal commentary here on this channel. I also have a fashion channel as well. It's on a bit of a hiatus by planning to get that picked up again here real soon, and I'm closing in on 100 subscribers. I cannot believe it. So close, 97,257 when I'm filming this video, and I'm really hoping to get it to 100,000 by the end of this month. So if you've been hanging around this channel for a while and haven't subscribed, please feel free to go ahead and do so, and I will have, and I know I'll reach it before I go. But I'm going to the UK next month, and I plan on grabbing some specialty royal treats for you guys for a giveaway. So I'll get some winter hot chocolate, which I know you guys love. I will try to find some coronation merch. I'm sure that's come out and the logo for it is lovely, so I'll find some of that. I'll find just some really cool things I think would make for some awesome giveaways, and also be making, I think I will make like a special 100,000 edition of the shirt. I need to order more. I know the shirt says recollections may vary, so I just love these shirts. I ordered 100 of them and you guys love them, and so I'm looking forward to getting more, but with school now going on and everything has just become too hard. But I also have a weekly newsletter of Royal Wires. If you're interested in latest royal news, go ahead and check that out. In addition, I also have, like I said, the fashion channel. If you want to check that out. And I have a trip coming up to the UK I couldn't remember, so that'll be in late May. And so if you're interested in going to London, the Cotswolds with me, I have 4 spots left and should be closing up here pretty soon. So if you have any interest in that, go ahead and check out that link down below in the description box as well. And like I said, guys, so much going on. Usually I try to touch on some other world news, but we'll go into all this because this could end up being a longer video than I think it will be. So let's start off first with Harry and Meghan's reaction to South Park. South Park has been an epic disaster for them in more ways than one because they look terrible in it, and even people who are maybe not on the royal bandwagon or whatever, they see the hypocrisy. That the hypocrisy is on complete and total display here. So really, I think it's done nothing for Harry and Meghan's public perception, and there were a lot of rumors that they were going to sue. Now I understand it. They like to sue. They're so happy. And if they were going to sue, it wouldn't necessarily totally be surprised, but in the United States they had more, I think, of leverage in the UK. In the United States, they have no such leverage in that way, and it's satire. It's supposed to be funny, and it's supposed to poke fun at people. It pokes fun at everyone. So this idea that you were going to go after South Park was a little silly, I think, in numerous ways. So when I first heard this rumor that they're going to sue, and I'm like, no, they're not, and apparently Harry and Meghan had to clap back as well, and they clapped back in People magazine, of course, which is the PR mouthpiece of the stars. If you didn't know that, basically anything that isn't People magazine is 100%, usually not totally, but a lot, oftentimes approved by the star, was done through their PR team. Like, it's very manufactured in a lot of ways. And so, but here's what they said. It's all frankly nonsense, totally baseless, boring report that is from the Sussex, says PR spokesperson. Now there was a great little bit in The Spectator where, basically, they were surprised they had anybody do that, because at this point who do Harry and Meghan had there on their staff members, they lost at least 2 members. I think they gained or transitioned 1 or 2 too, but they have a very, very small team, so much smaller than you would think. It's like 5 people, and so that they had to make this statement about this, I think, says that everything in South Park was accurate. They can't let something sit. They have to respond to everything. I'm sure Meghan wanted to give them a 12-step response to South Park or a 50-page response to South Park. That's what Harry and Meghan do. They've talked about this. Harry has talked about this in his interviews, and I think Meghan has too, that they wanted to basically go to the royal family and give them a laundry list of their supposed faults and everything they did wrong in terms of Harry and Meghan, and they wanted the royal family to create one too. In addition, when the bullying allegations came out, Meghan Markle sent over a 25-page point-by-point rebuttal of the bullying allegations against her. They have to respond. That was her main frustration with the royal family in a lot of ways, is that they wouldn't respond to every inane, stupid report. They would just let things lie, because you know what happens when you do that. Things eventually go away if they're not true. They eventually die. And so that's why Animals didn't do a video. I thought about doing a video on if they would sue, because I was like, they don't really have a foundation for it. I just don't really see the point. But Harry and Meghan spokesperson again, it's too over the top. It's baseless and boring. It's utter nonsense. Well, then, why are you responding to it, if it's baseless, boring, another nonsense? Just ignore it. It will go away in a week or 2, and I'll just completely die if you don't do anything. So why even respond to it? Because when they did that, you know what happened is that on Google, all of a sudden Harry and Meghan and South Park were trending again, basically. And so it was because when I googled South Park, what came up was this thing about Harry and Meghan calling it base was a boring. So Harry and Meghan again, they perpetuate their own PR, and then they don't understand why the PR machine doesn't leave them alone. But the problem is, much like in South Park, they want the publicity to ignore them, is to victimize Meghan Markle. So you must respond. You must react to them, and they must react to things that the media says. They want to react to everything. They want to drive the media narrative constantly, because Meghan very much has this issue with control, and I will be totally honest, I have some controlling tendencies as well. Not like in a bad way, but I'm very cautious. I like to drive places and not let other people do it. It's just I'm just one of those people where I'm just very like I don't really drink at all or anything, so that is something that I have, which I think serves me well in some ways. And also doesn't in other ways, but I think Meghan Markle, she's gone to such the extreme everything about her narrative she wants to control. She wants everybody to play to her fiddle to sing to her too. That's what she wants the world to do and the rest of the world is like, no, I'm not really that interested in that. Sorry, and she doesn't know what to do and so she has to respond. And when the best thing, all the pure practice would have said would be to just ignore it because you're again reminding people of the South Park thing, that parody view. Again, this thing that her and Harry do is just so utterly ridiculous that they just can't let something go. But again, that is Meghan Markle. That is Meghan Markle. Thing is that she wants to control the narrative, which leads to the next thing. Which is what the Daily Mail I find really interesting is what they're doing is they're bringing up old things that Meghan has said in the Tigor and interviews and showing how either that's not the case anymore or that what Meghan has done since then has shown that what she said before wasn't true. So the first thing they posted was about that she didn't know anything about the royal family when she wrote about Catherine's wedding, and when they first brought that up and I'm like, we've known about that forever. What is the Daily Mail of doing? Well, the Daily Mail is bringing this up again because they want to remind people, because the other huge mistake the Harry and Meghan have done overall is antagonize the media. The media doesn't like you. They'll find bad stories about you. Though even if they're not necessarily making it up, but will they dig up dirt that's been out there for a while? Oh, heck to the yeah. And you again have only yourselves to blame, because if you have a good relationship with the media, they don't tend to try to dig around and stuff. They shouldn't. They're just like, okay, whatever, that's totally fine. They tend to brush things off more, not necessarily like if there's a big story. They'll pursue it, but we can all agree that everybody has a bad day. So if they heard maybe that, Kate had a sharp word to say at one of her staff members one time, they're probably going, she's just human like everybody else, but if it's a series of allegations of comments of difficulties, it will make its way into the media, and the media has no incentive to protect you from that because you've made yourself. They're not necessarily their target, but you've made yourselves open to attack and mockery because they're trying to do a job and you're hindering their job and basically attacking them while they're doing it. And that's what Harry Meghan did. I just started reading the Valentine Lowe book and I do actually have an interview with him scheduled early next week. So I'm very, very excited about that. And so what he talked about in the beginning is something I think he was probably one of the first to say. It is that Harry and Meghan had gone on this Pacific tour and their team had been begging Harry and Meghan to come back and talk to the press, and Harry and Meghan finally did it. Meghan smiled like this demurely because that's what she does. That's her mash. She just smiles and kind of grins like an idiot is what I think, because it's like, I know that's a mess, please stop doing that. It just really offers me, but Harry, he's just was like a sulky teenager to them. And Valentine Lowe eventually he said that Harry would just went, well, thanks for coming, even though you weren't invited, and Valentine was like, all of us here, we were invited by your team, but we are all invited by your team. And Harry's inability to see that they were adding good because they were covering them. But if anything went bad, if they didn't give them the right coverage, and I think again, Meghan was whispering in his ear, going up. They're not giving us the attention we deserve. We can criticize. We need to do yeah. And so that it inevitably caused a rift that just continued to grow. And so when we get back to these Daily Mail pieces, they're bringing up Meghan talking about Catherine, and then there were their dream bringing up what Meghan said about her father years ago, which was nothing but kind and gracious. She was very complimentary of her father. She was very much somebody who appreciated what he had done for her. let me bring up, and this is now been picked up by Fox News. So let me bring up their article because they had a good synopsis of it while I was reading it, and it was actually not only was an article on Fox News, it was actually the highest post on the page for a little bit this morning. And that goes to show you that the stuff is starting to gain actual traction, that Meghan is essentially allegedly lying. That's becoming a bigger and bigger issue, is becoming a really big issue. So what they put on here is what Meghan said on the, I believe it was a TIG about her father. So she said, "I think of so many moments with my dad, our club sandwich and fruit smoothie tradition post, my tap and ballet classes. Which, by the way, he religiously took me to on Saturday mornings after working 75+ hours a week as a lighting director, the fishing trips along the Current River and Big Bear Lake to catch catfish or a trout and cook it up for dinner, and the commitment he made to lighting my high school musical so that they felt as grand as a Broadway show, the blood, sweat and tears this man who came from so little in a small town of Pennsylvania where Christmas stockings were filled with oranges and dinners were potatoes and Spain. Invested in my future so that I could grow up and have so much. He helped me turn my bathroom into a dark room when I was 12 because I wanted to be a photographer, shading my windows and red lighting gels, and with extra jugs, a fixer. He put gas in my car when I went from audition trying to make it as an actress. He is a person who believed in this grand dream of mine well before I could even see it as a possibility. He taught me to write thank you notes, to always arrive early, to drink Arnold Palmer's, to find my light when I'm on camera and beyond, and that right there is a point. My dad taught me to find my light. He taught me to always make my own box. To my dad, my thoughtful, inspiring, hard-working daddy, happy Father's Day. If I had all the water in the world, I'd give all the water to you. You won't get that quote, but he will, and for Father's Day, that's what matters most. Now then, she tell us a lot of things. Number 1, Thomas Markle sounded like a great dad. Thomas Markle sounded like a fantastic dad. She also shares a story that they went to Toys R Us and he found these Barbies and he took him out of their boxes while they were still in store. So he created a family that represented her. So a dad who is white, a mom who is black, and a white and black child, and so he did all these great things for her, and he sounds like a wonderful dad, but now he's this betrayer. He's this horrible Judas to her in so many ways. Let me read you part of that. So this was in the Oprah Winfrey interview. She said it felt like a betrayal when she learned that he was working without tabloids and staging paparazzi photos, the exact same thing she used to do that could and could not sell as a no-name actress. She did the exact same thing. And now he does it, and she calls him a betrayer. The tablets had apparently known his location for a month or so and decided to hold it until Sunday before our wedding because they wanted to create drama. We called my dad and asked him, and I asked him about staging the photos. She recalled he said, "No, absolutely not." I said the institution has never intervened on anything for us. But they can go in and kill the story, but if they do this once, we're not going to be able to use that same leverage to protect our kids one day. And so reading throughout it again, that's part of the Oprah Winfrey interview. I think I want to capitalize on that to look at the manipulation she's using supposedly against her dad. Well, if they do this for you, they do this for my children, and it's like, well, yes. They go and kill stories all the time. What do you think PR companies do? They go in and they help create stories and they kill them if they don't like them. And so this was a one-time thing and that they could only use it for her dad is a manipulation tactic in the extreme, and it's one that shows, I think, her deep need to twist the situation to fit her narrative, and again, it pulls on Harry's heartstrings. It pulls under Dad's heartstrings. It's very much a hugely manipulative tool. I said, I just need you to tell me, and if you tell me the truth, we can help, and he wasn't able to do that, and that for me has really resonated, especially now as a mother. I look at Archie and I genuinely can't imagine doing anything to intentionally cause pain to my child. I can't imagine it. so it's hard for me to reconcile that. However, Meghan is also keeping her children separated from their extended family members, so this is the Queen, Charles, William, Catherine, their children, the kids. Your own kids. Meghan may end up resenting you. They may resent you for keeping them away from history, from important moments. Archie could have been and Lily could have been at the Jubilee pageant. All the kids were there, including the very young ones. August was there. There's no reason why Archie and Lily could not have been there, but you're the ones who decide to fly home on a plane. And so I think this digging through of the media, Meghan's past and how her stories are inconsistent, is a huge thing, and it goes back to Meghan's control issue. She wants to control the narrative. She wants people to see particular things. This includes public and Harry, because I think at the end of the day, I don't think she ever wanted Harry to meet her father. I don't think she ever wanted to meet him, to meet any of her siblings. She didn't make any efforts to meet them, and then you think about it as well. It's right before the wedding and your father is not in London. He has no ticket. Was he literally going to fly in and then 24 hours fly back? Was that your plan? That doesn't sound very daughterly to me, to basically exclude him from everything. I'm sure they were communicating, but to me it sounds like it still does, that there was no suit made for him. And that there was no desire for him to fly out because there was no ticket made, as far as we can tell. There was no ticket until the last man to get him out after the story broke. It's like, well, why wasn't he in the UK already? Why wasn't he there? He should have been there already. I think Meghan always wanted to walk herself down the aisle and felt obligated to have Charles walk her halfway because Charles offered and she felt obligated to say yes, and Harry was there probably. I'm so proud, and she was like, okay, fine. I'll let the old guy, the future king, I'll let him walk me down because I'm a strong, confident woman and I don't need anybody else. And we have so many stories like this when it comes to Meghan, it would be just a waste of time to list them all. But the thing about Meghan is that she's constantly trying to reinvent herself, but reinvention can only happen if not only is there talent, which I said in a different video, but there has to be an element of truth to who you originally were to reinvent yourself, because you're inventing yourself with the core of the truth of who you are always there. The thing is, I know nothing about Meghan really. In some ways she seems to be a chameleon. She changes when the needs suit her. I know she wants fame and fortune and money. I know she's greedy. I know she basically all family members that don't abide by her specific edicts. I know that she only wants to be friends with extremely famous people because she is shallow and vain and vapid. But beyond that, I just really don't know that much about her. And so how are we supposed to connect with somebody who we know literally nothing about? And I think that's why right now, Harry and Meghan continued to see their poll numbers not go up after sharing everything, but dropping and cratering. I think because a huge portion of that is based around the fact of they can be trusted to tell something simple, and that is the truth. Everything is their truth. Everything is a version of their truth, and what's happening is that it's coming back really, really to haunt them in so many ways. And I think that public trust that people had in them, because again, public trust is based on you telling the truth about something and being consistent in that story. We got several different versions of the racist allegations made against royal family. So the version number one was Meghan's version. It was several conversations with Harry while she was pregnant. Harry's version was one conversation when they were initially dating, and then it became, well, it was a racist. Even though Meghan, I can't remember because you can't find the full video. The full interview now really, that I'm not sure if they either. They heavily implied it and over-made the insinuation. So did everybody else, or they actually just did say that it was racist. I don't think they said that specifically. But what happened essentially is that Harry, all of a sudden goes, well, it wasn't racist. It was the British media. It was the British media. It's like, no, the American media ran with a two-gay king. The friend of the woman who just interviewed you said on her morning show that it was racist. So what are you two talking about? Again, That simple thing of the basis, the core of what you're saying being consistent. That is key for anybody in this public sphere. Now we all make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes on air and everything, and I try not to, but I'm human. I'm flawed like everybody else, but what we know always about Meghan is that she's very good at crafting her words. Crafting her narrative. She wants everybody to see a specific side of her, and when people aren't seeing that, or when that's not landing, she has to change herself again to a certain extent to try to get that new Meghan to land. But again, none of it's based on the real Meghan, who's vain and shallow. And so at the end of the day, because she's not showing who she really is, which is actually, I would say a less hard worker than the Kardashians. Believe it or not, then people can't connect with you, because at the end of the day, we all know the Kardashians are vampired, probably a little bit dim, but they're smart business people and they don't really hide that they're selling themselves. But Meghan wants to sell you a facade, and that facade, you start to hit it and it starts to crumble and crack, and that's going on just again and again and again. And I don't think Meghan can adjust herself to that, or she keeps trying to and it's just not landing, and that's why we're getting these crumbling, cratering popularity poll. So here's latest one. This is an American one and American one. So when it comes to Harry, he is liked by 32%, disliked by 42%. So that gives him a net approval rating of -10. That's pretty bad. He moved on to Meghan. She was liked by 27% of Americans and disliked by 44% of Americans, giving her a net rating of -17. This was taken on February 19th, so this is a very new study. This is very new. I should say, Paul, this is a very new poll. And so looking at the actual royals of real royals in the UK, Charles was liked by 29%, disliked by 18%. So there's obviously some percentage in the middle. That's like, I kind of like them. I kind of don't, I don't really care, and so that gives him a net approval rating of 11th. Camilla is disliked by 23%, liked by 23%, so that gives her a net approval rating of 0, which is better than Meghan Markle. Camilla Parker Bowles, the former Camilla Parker Bowles, now Queen Camilla, is beating Meghan Markle in the approval rating, and there's still a lot of people who hate Camilla because of Diana. That should not be happening in any search of the imagination. And of course the most popular royals are Catherine, William. So William has an approval rating of 42% and a dislike rating of 14%, giving him an overall net rating of 42. Catherine is the most popular, so Catherine is liked by 44%, disliked by 12%, giving her a net approval rating 2. So that is still 11 points short of her 43 plus 43 rating in January, and it's still off for William of his plus 40 rating in December. So their popularity has taken a bit of a hit, the royals, but it will bounce back, because that was what the article also was saying, that it has dipped a bit by starting to go back up again. And Harry Meghan just goes down and down and down and down and down and down. And the reason for that is once again, is this narrative crafting, this having to respond to everything. This rigidity, the Harry and Meghan have, and this dislike factor that Harry and Meghan have. They're massive hypocrites and yet refuse to acknowledge it. It would actually be funny if they could make fun of themselves by saying, yeah, I know we're eco-activists, but we love our private jets, but they take themselves so seriously. That's the thing. You can be a hypocrite, but I think sometimes if you don't take yourself too seriously, people laugh it off more. But if you're taking yourself so steep and seriously, everybody's like, okay, so what are you doing now, because you're telling us that you are super serious about this and we need to take you extremely serious on this topic, and yet you're not reacting the way you should. And so again, once again, here and Meghan so much of the time are their own worst enemies when it comes to all this, because of their constant need to change up everything in order to hopefully hit whatever metric that they want to. Now, here's what's interesting too. There is now a rumor, and I saw that somebody else in this sphere did a video, that Meghan might be expecting her third child. Now, a couple of things. I've always said I think Meghan had our kids. I would assume she'd probably use IVF given her age. I don't fault her for that and I say that because she gained the weight and had really struggled to lose it. So why would she have a third child? She struggled to lose weight and she's in her 40s. Now that's going to be really, really hard. I don't think she's had particularly easy pregnancy. Doesn't have particularly good-looking pregnancies really. To be honest, she doesn't have a cute pregnancy look. Her stomach looks very weird, I think because her short torso is like, just 3 inches wide and so there's just no place for the baby to go. So she just looks odd and they want an award for saying that they would only have 2 children. They said it publicly and they won this award. So if they backtrack, then they look like once again, massive hypocrites. But why would they do it? Well, I'm not. Again, I think Meghan would really struggle with the fact once again that she would gain a bunch of weight and struggle to lose it. But I think Meghan would do it if she thought it would gain her a little bit of sympathy, because she thought it would gain her a little bit of clout. That is why she would have a baby. And to me, that's just so cynical and slimy to have a child just to maybe boost your popularity. I mean, I know they love their kids and I hope their kids have a wonderful childhood and they're loved and well cared for and everything. I hope all that sincerely. But Meghan is all about making money. She's all about fame and fortune. So what generally do women get when they get pregnant? They usually get like a bit of a popularity bump. It'd also be a really easy way to say that they couldn't attend the coordination because it's too pregnant and, Harry has to be here all the time. So Meghan and Harry can't leave because Harry has to be here now. If things were going well, would Meghan get pregnant again? I don't think things are going particularly well for her, and I think the baby, if they are having a third one again, hope the child has all the love in the world, but I think it's a Hail Mary to get more. And as a Hail Mary to try to prevent the bleeding that their popularity is doing, and their future is not in selling the monarchy, which is what made them all the money in the first place. Their future allegedly is in rom-coms. They want to make a rom-coms, guys, because Meghan loves rom-coms. Everyone would have to do a good rom-com. Her bit on that on Variety was just so contrived and just made me squirm because it was like, do you realize how awful you said? In addition to that, I'm sure Netflix is like, we didn't pay you. We didn't pay you to make romantic comedies. The reason you got the $100 million, the only reason you could possibly make through Netflix $100 million is by selling the royal family. We don't give diddly squat about your what's interesting too. There is now a rumor, and I saw that somebody else in the sphere did a video that Meghan might be expecting her third child. Now a couple of things. I've always said I think Meghan had our kids. I would assume she would probably use IVF given her age. I don't fault her for that and I say that because she gained the weight and had really struggled to lose it. So why would she have a third child? She struggled to lose weight and she's in her 40s. Now that's going to be really, really hard. I don't think she's had particularly easy pregnancies. She doesn't have particularly good-looking pregnancies really. To be honest, she doesn't have a cute pregnancy look. Her stomach looks very weird, I think because her short torso is like, just 3 inches wide and so there's just no place for the baby to go. So she just looks odd and they want an award for saying that they would only have 2 children. They said it publicly and they won this award. So if they backtrack, then they look like once again, massive hypocrites. But why would they do it? Well, I'm not. Again, I think Meghan would really struggle with the fact once again that she would gain a bunch of weight and struggle to lose it. But I think Meghan would do it if she thought it would gain her a little bit of sympathy, because she thought it would gain her a little bit of clout. That is why she would have a baby. And to me, that's just so cynical and slimy to have a child just to maybe boost your popularity. I mean, I know they love their kids and I hope their kids have a wonderful childhood and that they're loved and well cared for and everything. I hope all that sincerely, but Meghan is all about making money. She's all about fame and fortune. So what generally do women get when they get pregnant? They usually get a bit of a popularity bump. It would also be a really easy way to say that they couldn't attend the coronation because it's too pregnant and, you know, Harry has to be here all the time. So Meghan and Harry can't leave because Harry has to be here now if things were going well. Would Meghan get pregnant again, but I don't think things are going particularly well for them and I think, the baby, if they are having a third one. The child has all the love in the world, but I think it's a Hail Mary to get more attention. And as a Hail Mary to try to prevent the believing that their popularity is doing and their future is not in selling the monarchy, which is what made them all the money in the first place. Their future allegedly is in rom-coms. They want to make a rom-com skies because Meghan loves rom-coms. Everyone would have to do a good rom-comment. Her bit on that on Variety was just so contrived and just made me squirm because it was. Do you realize how awful you so? In addition to that, I'm sure Netflix is like we didn't pay you. We didn't pay you to make romantic comedies. The reason you got $100 million, the only reason you could possibly make through Netflix $100 million is by selling the royal family. We don't give diddly squat about your supposed skills. That's not why we paid for you. If Meghan Markle is her seamless dealers actress went to Netflix to get a deal, they laugh in her face because she has no talent in this room. I'm sorry, she doesn't. I've never seen any evidence that she has any acting talent. Apparently maybe she did at one point. But everything I've seen has been awful and I'm not being mean. I was just telling the truth. It is bad acting. Very, very bad acting, and that's why she couldn't get a lot of roles. She only got the roles and Suits. I think because not only was Rachel basically her in a lot of ways, Meghan Markle kind of made it herself. She kind of emulated and tried to be Rachel, saying, it's kind of weird. Tom Bower goes on about that in his book a bit. At least that's what I gleaned from it. That's just my personal thing, but Netflix doesn't want romantic comedies from Harry and Meghan. They want more royal content. That's why they hired them. And so this idea that they're going to go over a big round comes. I just don't think it's going to go well, and I'm sure they're getting a lot of pressure for Netflix right now going, we're believing subscribers. We're believing money. We don't want you guys to do something that, although it's simple, romantic companies are simple and formulaic, we have no evidence that you can actually pull that off. You sounded like a nitwit talking about it on Variety B. You just were like, I love romantic comedies. What happened to romantic comedies? And I knew as soon as she said that Archibald would go down the romantic comedy route. But the problem is that content Meghan has never created. She's never shown an iota that she can write decently. I think her writing's actually rather awful, and that she actually can, for example, create romantic comedies, had any interests in script writing, producing anything like that. And she has all these control issues, which I think is why Pearl probably fell apart, is her controlling issues, and it was in production hell and Netflix pulled the plug because they're like, hey, you have a big name. But this is an untested thing. It's going to be expensive. You're a pain in the butt to work with. We're not going to go down this rodeo, so I think Harry and Meghan are under enormous pressure right now. I mean, I've said this multiple times. But I just still think that's the case because Netflix and their publisher and Spotify all paid for one thing. Dirt on the royal. And Harry and Meghan made the crucial error, the unbelievably stupid error of not trying to create initial content out of the gate. They Saturday on everything for way too long, took him way too long to get archetypes together. It's 12 episodes or something. Podcasts are not that hard produced. I produced myself. I can edit this video and get this video out tonight. That's going to be a challenge, but I can do it. But Harry, and it takes them so long to do anything simple things. And at the end of the day, they should have started with okay. If we're going to do romantic comedies, let's do romantic comedies. Let's prove ourselves who we are as a brand, that we can contribute in a productive way before perhaps selling our story about the royal family. Let's do A first before we get to C. But no, they had to do C first.